Around the time when our children started elementary school, my husband and I built our own home. We were happy with our new home, but strange things began to happen. The number of packages delivered to our front door started to decrease or even disappear. I received advice from my boss at work and decided to do something to identify the culprit. My name is Leela, and I have been married for 10 years. We have 2 children, and my relationship with my husband Eddie is good. When our oldest child started elementary school, we decided to build our dream home. Even though it was small, everyone in our family was happy with our 2-story house. However, something strange happened about a month after we moved in. My husband and I both work full-time, and shopping is difficult for us. So we used a delivery service once a week. We couldn't be there to receive the package during the day, but the delivery person would leave the items in a cooler box in front of our house. Today, I came home after picking up my youngest child from daycare. When I got off my bike and checked the entrance, there were several delivery boxes piled up. Huh? However, I felt something strange about the piled up boxes. The lid of one of the boxes was slightly open. When I looked inside, I felt that there were fewer items than I had ordered. When I checked the details of the boxes and saw the invoice, I realized that the chicken I had ordered was missing. Oh no, was it a cat? I thought it might have been the work of a stray cat because it had happened before. That night, I reluctantly served a different menu at the dinner table.
Hey, what's that? Didn't you say you were cooking with chicken today?
My husband said, looking at the food on the table. We had discussed dinner in the morning. I'm sorry, but it looks like my delivery package was tampered with. The chicken I ordered is missing.
Tampered with? Was it a cat?
Maybe. I've seen some stray cats around here.
I'll buy a net on my way back from work tomorrow.
Thank you, that would be a great help.
We can't inconvenience our neighbors like this.
Although it was disappointing to lose the chicken, if it was the fault of a cat, there was nothing to be done. We had dinner without any further suspicion that day. The next day, I placed the net my husband had bought next to the entrance and explained the situation to the delivery person, asking them to put the net over the box. However, the following week, another inexplicable incident occurred. What's going on? I stared at the delivery package in front of the entrance. The net I had ordered was barely covering the box again, and the lid was open unnaturally. I felt uneasy, suspecting that it was the work of a person.
I'm home. Leela, you're just home too. What's wrong?
My husband had just returned home and looked into my face, frozen in place in front of the entrance. Welcome back. It looks like it was taken again. I showed my husband the strange delivery situation.
Let's check the contents for now.
When we compared the items and invoice together, we noticed that the avocado and frozen shrimp were missing.
Do cats eat shrimp?
What are you talking about? Cats wouldn't eat shrimp or avocado.
Oh, right. Hey, did you have nail art done recently?
Nail art? I don't usually wear anything too flashy for work. What's the sudden concern about nail art?
Look.
My husband pointed to the box, and I saw a glittery red fake nail inside. I had a bad feeling and felt like I recognized it from somewhere.
I think the delivery person was an older man, right?
My husband said, looking puzzled. Maybe.
What's wrong? Do you have any idea what's going on?
Wait, wasn't Morgan, the famous model from the house across the street, wearing the same fake nails yesterday?
Ah, that famous flashy model wife? What? You mean that person took something from the box?
I'm not sure yet.
Anyway, it's too late today. Let's deal with it tomorrow. The kids are hungry and waiting for dinner.
Okay, I'll make dinner. That night, I had trouble sleeping and couldn't stop thinking. The only person I've seen around who wears fake nails like that is Morgan. I changed the delivery time to a time when either of us was likely to be at home. I feel relieved now, but I still can't concentrate at work because I can't help but worry about it.
Leila, something's wrong here, right?
My senior colleague at work, Olivia, brought some documents to me. What? Really? I'm sorry, I'll redo it right away.
It's rare for you to make a mistake like this. Is something wrong?
Quinn, who was working at the desk next to her, chimed in.
Yeah, you seemed really out of it today.
I was not concentrating on my work because of what happened yesterday. I'm sorry for causing you trouble. Actually, there's something bothering me.
If that's the case, I'll listen. Shall we talk during lunch? Okay, I'm heading out now. Let's meet at our usual cafe when I get back. Is that okay with you, Lila?
Yes, thank you. At the appointed time, we gathered at a cafe near the office. I then told them everything that had been on my mind.
It must be that person, right, Olivia? Quinn, you always say not to speculate, don't you?
I think it's a possibility too, but there's no evidence.
Let's go to the police with fake nails as evidence. Fake nails alone are weak evidence. Is there anything else that could be used as evidence? What about security cameras?
Security cameras. Oh, the intercom. I remember the intercom had a function that starts recording when it rings.
Then we should check that first. If it's the intercom, we might be able to see what's going on with the package delivery at the front door. You must be worried, so you can leave work early today.
What? Are you sure?
It's not fun if you're not lively, Lila. If you're out of it, I'll have to take over your work. The project you're working on right now seems interesting,
Quinn said mischievously.
You can only say that when you are as good at your job as Lila is,
Olivia replied. Watching the two of them, I naturally smiled. Thank you both so much. I thanked them and immediately contacted my husband. We went home to watch a recorded video together. My husband said he would come home early and I finished my work for the day. After we arrived home, we checked the video from the intercom. And there was Morgan, wandering around our entrance. Morgan pressed the intercom to confirm that no one was home, and then began to rummage through the delivery box. And then Morgan took out the contents and held them. We were frozen with fear when we saw this scene. When I saw it, I couldn't stop shaking, either from anger or fear. However, this should be solid evidence, so I'm thinking of going to the police tomorrow. The next day, when we opened the front door to head to the police station with the video recording from the intercom, we ran into Morgan coming out of the house across the street. Oh my, both of you are out on a weekday. Although we usually just exchange greetings, Morgan approached us unusually. Good morning, Morgan. I'm on my way to the police station now. The police? Oh no, did you guys do something? We didn't do anything. Recently, packages left at our doorstep have been disappearing. I thought it might have been a stray cat, but apparently not. Really? That sounds like the work of cats or crows. I thought the same at first, but then I found fingernails in one of the boxes. It looks like the ones you have, Morgan. Morgan hid her nails. What? You think I stole them? Of course not. Morgan from across the street would never do such a thing, right? Well, obviously. Why would you go to the police for something like that? What a hassle. Morgan rushed out as if trying to escape. With that attitude, I don't think she'll apologize willingly. My husband sighed and said so. Yeah, if she had apologized now, we could have settled it out of court without going to the police. My husband and I watched Morgan's back with mixed feelings. We headed to the police station on foot. Since there was evidence, the police acted quickly for us. When I arrived at my company, Olivia and Quinn ran up to me, looking worried.
Did you go to the police? Is it still that person?
Yeah, there was evidence, so the police acted quickly.
That's a relief. The police are involved.
Olivia? Olivia thought for a while and then signaled to Quinn with her eyes.
Leila, why don't we take revenge? Let's wake the crazy thieving wife from her dreams.
Their smiles were a little scary, but I decided to cooperate with them on a proposal. Unaware that the police and our company were taking action, Morgan made a bold move a few days later. "I'm home. Sorry for coming back late."
Welcome back. It's okay.
"Did you check the camera?" Ever since going to the police station, checking the intercom has become a daily routine after we return home.
I'm about to check it now. Huh?
What's wrong?
She's here. The person is at the entrance.
What?
Never mind. This is footage from 10 minutes ago.
10 minutes ago? That's still not too long ago. I checked the intercom footage my husband was looking at. Then, I saw Morgan taking the whole box away. Oh, could it be the new bread maker I ordered? I remember that I had ordered a bread maker online, and it was supposed to arrive today. I had splurged and bought a good one, so I couldn't help but get excited.
No, it's not the bread maker. I was here when it arrived and received it. The box they put outside is the one with the beehives in it.
What? Does that mean? Then we heard Morgan's loud screams from the house across the street that echoed throughout the neighborhood. We opened the front door to see what was happening at the neighboring house. We saw Morgan come out of the house looking like a demon and walking straight towards our house.
Hey, what's with that box?
Box? Now that you mention it, the box we left here is gone.
Why is there a beehive in it? I almost got stung. I'm a model, you know. What if I got stung? Who's responsible?
My husband does all sorts of odd jobs and he was asked to remove a beehive. So he left it here to dispose of it. That's all there is to it.
Why are you being so confusing? It said aroma diffuser on the box, so I took it with me.
It was going to be disposed of, so any box would do. Besides, taking it with you, even if it's just a beehive, is a crime, you know?
Crime? That's an exaggeration. I don't need a beehive.
Morgan said to me breathlessly and forcefully. But what if the contents was a real aroma diffuser? Did you return it?
I'm not returning something like that.
That's stealing, you know? Do you understand?
I don't care. I'm a model. I'll gratefully take your place and use it. You're always eating such good stuff, so give me 1 or 2 aroma goods too.
I asked Morgan to confirm. So you admit it then? Did you also take our food delivery items?
Yeah, what's wrong with that? I'll live across the street. It's only natural to share food, isn't it?
My husband and I were dumbfounded by Morgan's nonsensical excuse. And then I raised my voice as a signal. She said she stole it.
Just because you shouted doesn't mean I'll give it back.
A man in a suit emerged from behind a tree in the yard in response to my voice, and several police officers came out of the gate. The police surrounded Morgan. Behind them, Olivia and Quinn took flash photos.
Hey, what's going on?
Morgan's expression became tense and serious with the sudden turn of events. These are the police. We had detectives on standby the day after we went to the police station earlier to consult with them.
Detectives? Why are they waiting?
When I went to the police station, I also handed over the intercom recording screen to the police.
The recording screen? Then you knew from the beginning it was me.
The police said they wanted to arrest you in the act.
What the? And what's with that camera?
They're my colleagues from work.
Stop it. This isn't a show.
Oh, did I mention it? I'm a journalist for a newspaper.
A newspaper journalist?
As Morgan heard this, her face turned pale. I asked Morgan with a smile. If I were to publish an article about you, a famous model, stealing, it would spread through the world in no time, wouldn't it?
Why did you steal food from someone's house? Were you in such a poor situation that you had to steal? Please, tell us your story.
Morgan retreated as the 2 journalists bombarded her with questions. But my husband and I stood firm behind her. As a result, people from the neighborhood gathered around the house one after another.
What's going on? Morgan, what's happening?
Morgan's husband came out of the house after hearing the commotion.
Are you Morgan's husband?
Yes, I am, but what's going on?
We're going to take your wife to the station now. Can you come with us too, sir?
What's going on? Did Morgan do something?
Yes. It seems she took something that belongs to someone else without permission. We have evidence, and she has admitted to the crime.
That's not true. It's not what it looks like. You see?
What do you mean it's not true? Lying in front of the policeman can cause big problems for you later on.
That's true, even in front of reporters too. Morgan couldn't say anything in response.
What the hell do you think you're doing? This is a crime.
But I wanted it. It's because your income is so low.
I was amazed by Morgan's lack of remorse and how she blamed her husband for everything.
We're getting a divorce.
What? No, please, don't divorce me. It's a lie. I swear.
My apologies for my wife's rude behavior. Take her away. I'll follow later.
Despite Morgan's protests, the police handcuffed her and took her away in a patrol car.
Wait, I didn't mean any harm. If you listen to me, you'll understand. Please, listen to me.
I feel like she said something like that, but when the police car door closed, I couldn't hear the voice anymore. I never thought I would become a victim, but with Olivia and Quinn's motivation, they will surely write a good article. I later found out through an interview with Olivia and Quinn that Morgan had apparently committed similar acts in other nearby homes, and the number of her offenses had reached dozens. It seems that she will not be able to come out of prison for a while. The article was completed, and because the person involved was famous, it was covered extensively. The reaction was significant, and it was even featured on television.
She's back again, a famous person in a completely different sense.
Smiling somewhat wickedly, Olivia pointed to the TV in the office. On the TV screen, a reporter was explaining the ins and outs of the case from the front of Morgan's house. Reporters are still wandering around the house, even though a week has passed since then.
That's because what that person did was wicked.
That's right. When we investigated, all sorts of bad information came out. I heard that she had a husband, but she was spending money on a young man.
What? Did she cheat on her husband?
Not only that, but apparently, she has also dipped into her husband's savings when her own income wasn't enough.
And it seems like she spent it all.
All of it? So she resorted to stealing things because she was struggling to make ends meet?
Yes, it seems the young man she was seeing was only interested in her for money, and now she's abandoned her.
She's all alone and crying, abandoned by her husband too.
Come to think of it, I haven't seen her husband around lately.
He's probably gone for good. I heard he's putting the house up for sale.
Really? As expected of a newspaper reporter, she seems to have gotten a hold of some new information from somewhere.
Apparently, the house is getting swarmed with complaint calls, newspapers, and even reporters showing up every day. He wants to sell the house and go back to his hometown for a peaceful life. I also heard that divorce papers for his wife were also sent to the police station.
I see. I hope that the next person who lived there would be a good one. However, no one would ever live in that house again. The house was put up for sale and gained a bad reputation as the thief's property, and no buyer ever came forward. Eventually, a big corporation bought it, and the house was soon demolished and turned into a coin parking lot that everyone would recognize. Once the house was gone, the reporters who used to lurk around also disappeared, and the neighborhood finally regained its peace and quiet. By the way, I still live in the same house, and my relationship with the neighbors is still good.
All right, everyone's presentations are done. Nick, the manager, said as he tried to move the discussion forward. Excuse me, I haven't. I recently found out something. Nick interrupted me and began to speak. There's apparently someone in this department who didn't graduate high school and is just a part-timer. Meetings should be for employees only. Absolutely right. His lackey, Mike, of course, agreed with Nick. I'm leaving. After leaving the meeting room, I started to shut down my computer. I noticed that an email had arrived, not in my personal inbox, but in the company's shared email. Thinking, there's no point in speaking up, no one will listen, I went home quietly. The next day, I heard a commotion from Nick's desk. He was staring at his computer screen, his face pale. "Nick, is something wrong?" Mike looked at the screen with him. And he turned even paler than Nick. Why is he so angry? Knowing the reason for Mike's distress, I thought to myself, serves them right. My name is Adam. My mother passed away when I was in the 9th grade, and I was raised by my father. Well, you could hardly call it being raised. After my mother passed, my father changed. He drowned his sorrows in alcohol, and though he still went to work, he squandered our living expenses on horse racing. Because of that, I had to start working part-time as soon as I entered high school. Every month, I went to the convenience store with bills in hand that couldn't be auto-deducted from my father's account. Even though I endured it because I didn't want to be alone, I reached my limit in my second year of high school and dropped out. I found a live-in job at a distant inn. Thank you for everything. The day I left home, my father, still staring at the TV, spoke. Take care. That was our last conversation. Back then, 18 wasn't the age of majority, so I needed my father's permission to work, and I couldn't hide my place of employment. Yet, my father never visited me even once. I kept working just to survive, and before I knew it, I was 42. Years of hard work paid off, and I was transferred to the headquarters. I was thrilled to be recognized by the company, as I thought I'd be working in the field until retirement due to my lack of formal education. Listen up. Our work can change the future of our employees. Don't drag us down. On my first day after the transfer, Nick, dressed in an expensive suit, spoke sternly. There was a reason for this. Our inn was located in a prominent tourist destination, known so well that everyone in the state could sing its commercial jingle. At its peak, we had 5 locations within the state. But that was long ago. Due to financial difficulties and aging facilities, only the place where I had worked for many years and the original establishment remained. I was prepared to lose my job anytime, but now there was a glimmer of hope. With the rise of social media, the tourist area where the inn was located started gaining attention again. Depending on how hard the sales department, where I was transferred, worked, we could either thrive or be forced to give up this prime location to the new hotel chains continuously popping up. For Nick, who had switched careers from another industry to strengthen our sales, this was a battle he couldn't afford to lose. I understood why he had to be strict. I will do my best. Nick sneered at my enthusiastic declaration. Did you not hear what I said? I'm sorry. I thought I was listening carefully. Out of habit from years of customer service, I apologized reflexively, though I had no idea what had offended him. Someone was watching me with a smirk. In this department, there are those who are expected to excel and those who have been shoved here because they have nowhere else to go. You are the latter. It was Mike, the section chief. He's 7 years younger, at 35. But he was called to headquarters much earlier than I was and had been moving around within the headquarters ever since. I'm not jealous, but I can't accept that he's my boss. Graduating from a prestigious university, he has an unusually high pride and caused many problems as a newbie, making things very difficult for me when I was the front desk leader. When I found out Mike was transferred to the sales department a month before me, I was disheartened. Mike is right. With just a middle school diploma, there's not much you can do. Don't even think about achieving results. As if I didn't exist, Nick remarked, I'm thirsty. Mike eagerly ran to the coffee maker. It seems Mike is Nick's lackey. I regretted being happy about my transfer to headquarters, wishing I had stayed on site forever. Send a direct mail to every company on this list by the end of the day. Nick only assigned me tasks that even a new graduate could handle. What? There are over 1,000 companies. You want me to send to all of them by today? Yes, if you and your fellow misfits split the work, even those with nowhere else to go should finish by today. I glanced at the employees typing away expressionlessly. They were worn out from customer service, only thinking about leaving on time, or were women reassigned after having children, with zero motivation for work. Even Sam, a new graduate from the same university as Mike, who was supposed to be among the expected achievers, had no enthusiasm for the job. having joined the company wanting to do customer service. I don't care what they say, I plan to quit anytime, he said. Only Nick and Mike were highly motivated, making all the decisions between the two of them. I originally only wanted to work at the inn to survive and had no particular attachment to this job. I swallowed my words, thinking I had no right to reprimand them. About a month after the transfer, Nick told us with a frustrated look. To commemorate the 50th anniversary, we've decided to create a plan exclusive for one group per day. Originally, Mike and I were supposed to come up with it, but our president, Mr. Thompson, insists on hearing everyone's opinions. So, you all get a chance. As Nick explained, Mike began handing out prints. Make sure not to embarrass Nick. If your ideas are half-baked, you'll have to redo them. It seemed that they had printed his handwritten notes by Mr. Thompson, which included several questions and a section for free responses. It made sense why Nick had to seek our input, given that all responses had to be submitted to Mr. Thompson. We were given a week to think about it, and a meeting was scheduled to compile our ideas. My plan is to let guests enjoy both the old and modern America. Nick began the presentations. Guests would watch a master confectioner at a nearby traditional sweet shop make sweets in front of them. The welcome drink would be premium tea in a bottle. Nick's plan was certainly attractive. After his presentation, Nick called on us to present in the order we were seated. Just as I stood up for my turn. All right, everyone's presentations are done. Excuse me, I haven't. I recently found out something. Nick interrupted me. There's someone in this department who didn't graduate high school and is just a part-timer. He was likely talking about me. I joined the company as a part-timer and was made a full-time employee when I turned 20. That was 20 years ago, so Nick and Mike probably had no chance to know until recently. Meetings should be for employees only. Absolutely right. After that, Nick kept creating opportunities to solicit everyone's opinions, purposefully excluding me from speaking. The meeting unexpectedly heated up and went past the scheduled end time. A few people asked to leave, and the discussion continued with the remaining few. Still here? Normally, you'd leave in that situation. Though I had no attachment to the job initially, hearing kind words from customers made me want to make them happier. For someone like me, with nowhere to go, the inn was my home and customer service was my life. I felt pathetic about my current self. I'm leaving. I left the conference room and started shutting down my computer. I noticed an email had arrived, not in my personal inbox, but in the company's shared email. Thinking no one would listen to what I had to say anyway, I quietly went home. The next day, while preparing the DM as instructed, I heard a commotion from Nick's desk. In his haste to stand up, he hit his knee on the desk. He stared at his computer screen, his face pale. Nick! What's wrong? Mike, thinking he should be the first to rush over, approached Nick while still wearing his coat. He peered at the screen with Nick. And he turned even paler than Nick. Why is he so angry? Who is responsible for this company? Nick, more irritated than ever, asked, and Mike answered without checking. Probably Sam. Sam wasn't there because he was attending a morning training session for new hires. Nick gave up on getting angry and returned his gaze to the screen. They were looking at an email that arrived right after the end of the working day yesterday. Apparently, no one, including me, had checked it before leaving. The email was from a large company that used us for their annual employee trips. The president and executives of that company also frequently used our services personally. President of the company, Mr. Mason himself, had declared that neither he nor his company would ever use our services again. Well, some companies cancel their employee trips or stop using our services due to financial struggles. Let's just move on. Mike kept wiping the sweat from his forehead with a handkerchief. Knowing why Mike was so agitated, I quietly watched their interaction. Do you know how much revenue we get from that company? We can find other guests to fill the rooms, but we'll lose the banquet costs, gift shop revenue, rental car fees, and more. Moreover, the gifts were supposed to be prepared by the traditional confectionery shop involved in Nick's proposed plan. If it's known that we incurred such a huge loss at this critical time, Nick's position in the company would be jeopardized. Nick took a deep breath, seemingly trying to calm himself. All right, Mike. Go to New York right now and apologize to Mr. Mason. What? You're coming with me, right? I have urgent work to do. I trust you, which is why I'm entrusting this to you. Please. Mike, believing Nick's sincerity, agreed with a determined look on his face, saying, yes. That's Nick for you. Even if Mike went to apologize, Nick would shift all the blame onto him if the client didn't change their mind. Well, it was Mike's fault to begin with, so it served him right. About 3 hours later, Sam answered a call from somewhere and repeatedly apologized, saying, I'm very sorry. Everyone watched to see what was happening. After ending the call, he informed Nick with a weary tone. When Mike arrived at the client's company, he only made things worse, further infuriating Mr. Mason. He was demanding, get his boss here immediately. It was no wonder Sam was exhausted, dealing with such a call right after returning from training. What is that idiot doing? All right, Adam, you're coming with me. If sacrificing Mike didn't work, then I must be next. Normally, I'd want to refuse at all costs, but I saw an opportunity in this situation. If I can be of assistance, I'd be happy to join you. I obediently followed Nick, and we flew to New York. When we introduced ourselves at the reception, it became clear how serious the situation was. As the receptionist personally escorted us to the president's office. Angry voices leaked through the door, making both Nick and me uneasy. Excuse me. I'm Nick, the supervisor. I understand my subordinate has caused you trouble, and I deeply apologize. Nick, with his experience in the corporate world, knew enough to offer an apology before excuses. However, his customer service skills left much to be desired. I sighed as I saw Mike trembling like a small dog in the corner of the room. What kind of training are you giving your subordinates? Mr. Mason glared at Nick with a red face. The intensity of his gaze made even Nick take a step back. Regrettably, I joined this company only 2 years ago and was unaware of Mike's issues. I should have identified his shortcomings sooner. Indeed. I should have realized sooner. No sensible person would come to apologize and then give a lengthy presentation on the drawbacks of not using their in. Nick froze, his mouth slightly open. Suspecting the worst, I picked up the documents that had fallen to the floor. It seemed Mike hastily prepared these documents on the plane, listing the disadvantages. Disadvantage 1: if you change the venue for the company trip, employees might suspect it's for cost-cutting reasons, leading to a negative impression. Reading it aloud half-jokingly, Nick snatched the papers from my hand and checked the contents with a furious expression. Among the stack of documents was a receipt from a nearby convenience store's copy machine. I felt a pang of dread, hoping he hadn't shown the receipt as well. What do you think he said when I asked what kind of nerve he had to do this? I'm very sorry. Faced with the dire situation, Nick must have thought there was nothing left to do but apologize. In a voice smaller than I'd ever heard from him, he uttered words of apology. He said, I'm a Harvard graduate. I don't believe I said anything wrong. Mike! What have you done? Forgetting his plan to pin the blame on Mike, Nick yelled loudly, even in front of Mr. Mason. I didn't do anything wrong. You're still saying that? Look at him. Mike pointed at me with a shaking hand. I was assigned to headquarters in my 20s and now I'm a section chief. This guy only made it to headquarters at 42. Everything I've done proves I was right. So why are we losing the contract? Having said his piece, Mike collapsed to the floor. Of course. You were sent there because you had nowhere else to go. Mike never expected to hear such words from someone he looked down upon. He lunged at me, and Nick hurriedly stepped in to stop him. Mr. Thompson told me Mike is a quick thinker, and to take good care of him. There's no way he was pushed aside. Don't make things worse here. He didn't say quick thinker, he said only quick-witted, didn't he? I don't remember that part. I recalled the many troubles Mike caused when he was a newbie. When Mike was on the front line, his pride was so high that he never apologized to customers. Customer service, especially in our job, doesn't work alone. It brings both good and bad situations. If the front staff or housekeepers made mistakes, or the cleaning company didn't properly clean a room, one had to apologize to the customers regardless of personal fault. Mike, in such situations, would never apologize, insisting he wasn't at fault. This often angered customers, and as the front desk leader, I frequently had to apologize on his behalf. He caused complaints and disrupted operations, which is why he was quickly moved to headquarters. In departments where he didn't interact directly with customers, his quick thinking was beneficial and things went well. But it seemed his flaws were starting to show. Corporate reservations are supposed to be entered into the system by the sales representative. But a quick check yesterday revealed that more than 10 items were missing from the client's reservation. The handover document clearly stated what needed to be prepared. Why didn't you enter it into the system? Why do we have to give them special treatment? Filling rooms near the banquet hall, setting up all the food in advance. Specifying the brand of wine, they're too demanding. No wonder he always angered customers, I thought, feeling a headache coming on. Grouping them in rooms near the banquet hall is for our benefit too. It makes it easier for the staff to set up beds and serve breakfast since everyone's schedule is synchronized. As for the other requests, Mr. Mason suggested them to lighten our load. I didn't know that. Nick finally seemed to realize that Mike was the one who had angered the client. What did you say to them? I just told them we wouldn't give them special treatment anymore. We shouldn't waste effort on things that don't bring in money. I was utterly exasperated at his lack of understanding of customer service. Of course, we shouldn't comply with unreasonable demands. But carrying over successful practices from past stays makes customers feel remembered and enhances their experience. Good memories encourage repeat visits. That's part of our job. I looked down at Mike, who was sitting on the floor. In our job, nothing is a waste. Mr. Thompson likely moved you to the sales department, hoping you'd finally understand this. How do you think he feels now that you failed to meet his expectations? Mike, tears in his eyes, fled the president's office. I was amazed he still hadn't apologized. You have it tough, Adam. It's okay, we're all employees of the same company. I deeply apologize for this disrespectful incident. Especially after all the care you've shown us. If it weren't for you, Adam, I really would have stopped staying here. When I heard you were moving to the sales department, I was willing to reconsider if you handled it. Seeing us talk so amicably, Nick's face contorted. Do you two know each other? Adam's service is excellent. I always requested him specifically. Normally, we don't accept specific staff requests, but we made an exception for Mr. Mason, adjusting my shifts accordingly. He had personally stayed at our hotel just before my transfer, and during casual conversation, I mentioned, I'm moving to the sales department soon. If I hadn't told him then, things could have been much worse. Please continue to take care of us. I look forward to it. On the return flight, Nick awkwardly offered me a can of beer. It's still working hours. Of course, I had no intention of forgiving him for a single beer. Nick might try to pin everything on Mike and avoid any consequences. While pondering this, a startling fact came to light. Nick, the tea bottles for the plan have arrived. I handed Nick a bottle labeled with our inn's name. They look good. What are you talking about? These are plastic bottles. I had assumed we would use the trendy, high-end bottling tea. But what arrived were ordinary plastic bottles of tea with customized labels. The only unique aspect was the label, which had the inn's name, making it look customized. Upon further investigation, I discovered that a substantial amount of money was set to be paid to the tea company. It was priced like bottling tea. Does this plastic bottle really cost $100 each? The tea inside is specially blended for us. The extra cost is for that. Wouldn't it be better to use another tea company? Or is there a specific reason we must use this one? As Nick continued to make excuses, I showed him a printed email. I informed the tea company's president, Mr. Mitchell, that we discovered irregular payments and he confessed. He said you two were high school classmates and planned to split the extra money. That idiot. Why did he confess? That's not important. You should worry about yourself, this could turn into a police matter. Opening the bottle cap, I suggested. How about calming down with this tea? It supposedly has a relaxing effect. Nick drank the tea frantically. In the following days, decisions were made about their fates. Mike was reassigned to the General Affairs Department, with no chance of transfer or promotion, as per Mr. Thompson's orders. As for Nick, since the payment to the tea company hadn't yet been made, he narrowly avoided legal trouble. Instead, he was encouraged to leave the company, and to avoid further complications, Nick submitted his resignation. Rumor has it that connections between HR departments have made it difficult for him to find new employment. Even though it was good to have those two gone, something unexpected happened in the sales department. Everyone became motivated and united in refining the 50th anniversary plan. In the end, my plan was adopted. We collaborated with the Tourist Information Center to provide personalized guides. The plan, tailored to the number of guests, was truly special for the 50th anniversary. Hey, is Adam's family coming to stay? I immediately booked that special plan for my family. Sam noticed it on the reservation list and quickly picked up on it. Yes, I'm inviting my father. That's great. I might invite my parents too. I lacked the courage to face my father just as Adam. But here, with the confidence Mr. Mason praised, I felt ready. The 50th anniversary plan was a perfect opportunity to reconnect with my father. I hoped to bring back the days when we could laugh together as we once did.